Hello everyone, my name is Ankush Gadi. I have 18 plus years of work experience in the field of data management and analytics, operations, strategy, and product development. I'm very excited today to be part of this summit and thank you so much for having me here. Before we get to the core of the presentation today, I thought of sharing something where I came across how data and analytics can be used in a lighter way. As you can see in this picture, how there has been derived a correlation between lightning and owning cats. How 3 out of 4 Australians make up 75% of the population. Clearly not statistics. And one of my favorites, how numbers can be used to come up with the studies. Clearly, while data management is important and data is critical, but we need separate skills and expertise to make sense of data. In the world we live today, disruptions are happening at a very fast pace. And some of the themes that we are going to talk about are as follows. Global rebalance. As you may be aware, before the global financial crisis, there have been a set of countries which had a large amount of surplus, and there were a set of countries which had a large amount of deficit. Last 10 years has seen this gap narrow down in a big way. For example, China, you see, is moving into current account surplus, whereas some European as well as oil producing countries are also going in the same way. This is one theme that you will hear a lot in the coming few years. Big data. The amount of data that is getting generated on the web today is immense, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. But to manage that, we need new age technology as well as tools to make sure our data is organized as well as analytics ready. Fintech. World over, we have seen the emergence of fintechs. Asia and India are no different. We have seen in financial sector how some of these fintechs have created a huge impact. Globally, the regulators have been very active and rightly so. The kind of data and technology that are getting used today, there is a huge amount of regulations that are set and yet to come. The risk managers are becoming very active for these reasons. We have seen emergence of new age technology like blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learnings, and so on. And we will see many new things and good things coming our way using these technologies. Millennials. This is one area where all companies and countries are thinking very differently. Millennials think differently, they do things differently, and many companies are adopting the way to make sure they are very effective and productive. There have been many new business models in the last few years. For me, the hottest business model is the platform model. The likes of Amazon, Uber, Facebook, and so on have seen how they have impacted our lives and made it lot more convenient to access what we need. This slide talks about the data getting generated every digital minute. And you can see the numbers are staggering. The number of searches that are conducted on Google, to the YouTube videos that are getting watched, to the Uber rides that are getting booked every minute, these numbers are simply mind blowing. And there is no slowdown to this at all. By end of this year, it is said that we will have 40x more bytes of data than the number of stars in the observable universe. I think these are serious numbers to watch out for. As we have seen in the previous slides, the disruption and the data getting generated, organizations today need a modern approach to data management. Currently, what organizations do is buy and implement the latest technology, thinking that this is the answer to their data problems, only to realize that this is not going to work. As part of their data architecture strategy, they implement the latest data lakes, data warehouses, data streams, and so on and so forth, only to realize that this is just a part of their problems. Many organizations today have taken their legacy applications onto cloud, thinking that this is the answer, only to dust off their problems, to realize that this is not cloud is not going to solve everything for them. Today, the modern data management strategy has to be to think outside the current challenges and the adoption to the future. The volume of data is only going to grow, as we all know, and the demand for business users will require to access data to carry out complex analytics. Enabling the business users with the data that they need to thrive in today's marketplace is going to be one challenge that data leaders need to solve for, which will require a modern data strategy and approach. Now let's see what does it take to have a successful approach to modern data management. A successful approach to modern data management requires leadership, data principles, data assurance, governance, and architecture. Data requires leadership. Data programs and projects are challenging and they often fail. They require everyone to be on the same page, the technical teams, the business teams, and the stakeholders, due to the high likelihood that the priorities and focus will change over time. Leadership should supply the organization with a vision and a comprehensive strategy that incorporates people, processes, technology, and the data drive successful outcome. Leadership helps prioritize what needs to be done first to build momentum. Tightly integrate your business strategy and initiatives with your data management activity is what leadership should provide. People and processes benefit from data principles. Data principles enables data consumers to be empowered to make decisions. In my years in the data and analytics industry, I have found that there are hundreds and even thousands of decisions that go into making a data-driven decision-making tool and successfully implementing that in the workforce. It is equally difficult to explain the nuances of every decision to stakeholders, so they are often not capable not equipped with the decisions, the vocabulary, or experience to guide the technical teams to make the best decision in the organization. When you have a clearly defined set of data principles, it is easy for everybody to make decisions and come on the same page with established principles. For example, some of the examples that I can quote here are data will be of the very high quality. I think it's a very easy principle to establish. Each subject area will have a single source of truth. Data will respect persons and will be handled ethically. I think these are some of the simple data principles that can be established in the organization. The third critical aspect is data quality. A modern approach to data management it is like a balanced financial portfolio. You need to have a balance for your strategy between opportunity and risk mitigation. Securing your data assets from internal and external threats is a critical part of data management. No one wants their organization to end up on the news as the next data breach. A less talked about risk is data quality. You need to have a strategy for data quality, there is no doubt about it. How you manage reference data, master data, and metadata makes a dramatic difference in the reliability and the quality of your data. If you're not managing the type of data in your organization, you are carrying unmanaged risk. Data governance need to be realistic and practical. I think that's the key word. There is too much data in most organizations today to be able to centrally govern every data asset quality in the enterprise data warehouse. Many organizations that try to do this end up with dozens of department workaround solutions because the central organization moves too slow and cannot keep up with the pace of business. How do you rationalize or be realistic with data management? Start by cataloging and classifying data assets to decide what is critical and what deserves strong governance and what can be replicated centrally without integrating or predetermining business rules. Not all data needs the same level of governance and central organization and do not have unlimited budgets to do so. Defining the level of governance for assets can help clarify priorities and build a roadmap for future enhancements without stalling out innovation in the organization. The fifth and the last aspect of data architecture, I think a modern data architecture is one that supports large volumes of data which being highly performed and cost effective. It supports drives the type of data including relational, semi-structured and unstructured data. It enables diverse types of analytical workflow from dashboarding and reporting to advanced analytics to real-time and streaming. It should allow for elevated levels of governance as well in a data warehouse, yet be flexible enough to integrate data prior to a define how it connects to large organization in a data lake. These are, I think, some of the critical components for modern data management and will take your organization one step closer to turning out data into an organization's strong asset. Now that we have the data ready, it has to give some business outcomes or be analytics ready. Let's go through some of the most commonly used quant techniques that we use in our business today. As you can see on the chart, as you go more towards the right, it's more and more complex and the kind of data that goes into it is more and more intense. For simple visualization or data that needs to be presented in a time series or in a manner in a graph, I think some of the visualization tools are very helpful. These are called descriptive techniques for analysis. The other ones, as it goes into more complexity, are some business tools and which are easily used are online analytical programs which are very common to use some complex data. When it comes to other statistical data like predictive analytics, I think some of the most common which most of you will be aware of are regression, time series, decision tree, and neutral networks. Regression is fairly simple statistical tool where it tries to build some relationship with a dependent variable and an independent variable. Time series is a series of data that can be indexed and come up with a chart of series to describe. Decision tools are very simple where we have to take a decision either A or B or then go on to the other uh, decisions so on in terms of the series of data that or the decision points that we want to achieve. Prescriptive analytics is a form of advanced analytics which examines data or content to answer questions like what should be done or what can we do to make this happen. I think some of these answers require some very intensive computers and simulation exercises to come up with various outcomes that are required for businesses. These are just some of them, and there are many more that can be used for many of the quantitative techniques in the market. What is these used for? I think some of these are very simple sales and marketing analytics. As you can see, some of the campaigns that can be run, which is cross sell, upsell, or other marketing campaigns. Customer segmentation. I think we are living in an age of, I don't say personalization, but it's called hyper personalization now, where every message is targeted towards the individual. I think some of these analytics can definitely, techniques can help us come to that kind of analytics. Customer attribution analytics is another great example where you can use these techniques in our day-to-day lives. Some predictive customer lifetime value is another analysis that can be done carrying some of these analytics. The other applications of analytics are in the field of risk analytics, where fraud analytics is getting a lot of traction, especially in the banks and NBFC sector. The scorecards, the behavioral scorecards, I think these are some of the things which you will see using some of the analytical techniques that I described in the earlier slide. The regulatory analysis again is one area where we can see some of these applications being used as part of risk management. As we are talking about data, analytics, and technology, I think these two areas is something that will find a place in any presentation. Artificial intelligence is a wide-ranging branch of computer science concerned with building smart machines capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. We have already seen a lot of innovation in this space, and there is a lot more to come. We have seen some of the areas like natural language processing, where Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistants find their way in our lives, if not on a daily basis. Image processing is again area of artificial intelligence where we see if most of you are using Facebook, you will see the automatic tagging of suggestions that keep coming up while you browse through the application. Self-driving cars, though my sense is we're still 5 to 7 years away till they get perfectionized and ready to use, are already getting tested in a big way. Amazon has started doing some kind of testing using drones to deliver their packages in some part of London, which I read in last month uh, when they are doing their testing. I think there are areas on security as well in terms of speech recognition, etc., which these areas will help us to and makes our lives better. I'm very excited to see what's coming in this field and also trying to keep myself updated to make sure that I'm contributing in my own way. In the last 15 minutes or so, we spoke about many components of a data strategy. Now, let's see what is the importance of a good and holistic data strategy. It all starts with understanding your organization and defining the right use case. I think for me, this is the most critical aspect of any data strategy. Once you have defined the right use case, then you go on to the kind of data that you have and defining the kind of data that you need. Equally, the data acquisition strategy plays a very important role in getting the right kind of data. Unstructured data is getting more and more important in any use case that is getting defined, and news is one such data. If we need to get that, you need to make sure what is the kind of source of data that needs to be there for unstructured data. Once you have defined the right data management strategy and the data acquisition strategy, I think the next critical step becomes deploying the kind of analytics and the machine learning tools for analyzing the data and then finally operationalizing it. There is a reason why this diagram is made this way. If you see the center blocks, I think the left hand side which says revenue and efficiency will eventually define the kind of use case or the tools that you deploy. I think that is very, very critical when you come up with the right use case or the business case for the data that you're going to use. The right hand side is all about the data management aspect where risk and reputation becomes very, very critical when you use any kind of data. I'll actually add the third layer is the quality and the governance aspect to this data management part, which we spoke about in the previous slide. I think for me, this is an holistic way of defining an complete data strategy for any organization. Now let's look at a case study where a modern data management strategy along with technology and analytics has helped in coming up with solving a real life problem. The problem statement as given here was to identify signals for deterioration in financial health of a company. The idea was to come up with a model which can help as an early warning signal for any deterioration in financials of a company. The first step to prepare the model was data collection and processing. What was needed was historical trends of growth and profitability for the organization, some key ratios and their trends, and eventually some industry analysis. The variables that were required was some judgment-based selection as well as some correlation and binding distribution, which was inputted as part of the model. Eventually there was a logistic regression along with scorecard that was developed to come up with a model. The model was back tested and the results were eventually presented to make sure that they are relevant and useful. This is a continued iterative process where the model validation happens on an ongoing basis by doing out of time testing as well as making sure it becomes continuously relevant. I think the end result was fantastic, where the model showed that there is some kind of predictive ability to see if any company is going through stress or any concerns about their financial health in in the current state. I think an absolutely great example where the combination of a right data management, the analytics and technology is giving out what is needed to the market. Rewards of a modern data management strategies is very clear. I think it gives you the data security, it gives you the way the data needs to be stored. The AI and ML based innovation, I think, is very, very evident. I think what the end results are, I think, are faster product development and more complete access to the required data. There is greater efficiency and lower operational costs that can be derived using the analytics and the platforms that eventually host the final output. The outcome also is that the higher revenues from newly discovered opportunities can benefit large organizations. I think there is a clear case for every company or every organization to look into how they use the data, how they store the data, and the various aspects of a complete data management strategy, which we spoke about in the last 20 odd minutes. This is, I think, the final slide. Thank you so much for again having me here and for hearing me so patiently. Thank you very much.